And let me be clear, we need Jack Smith before us under oath so he can answer for his actions in this targeted, weaponized witch hunt. Think about that. Sitting members of Congress. And that is what he thought. Do you think Jack Smith violated that speech and debate clause protections?
Chairman Blackburn, I would defer to you and your colleagues about the scope and the application of the speech and
You're
debate
aware
clause.
of the case,
I am, Chairman
and
Blackburn.
you're aware of what the case found, that it establishes that proposition.
I am.
You are. So, do you think, in your opinion, did Jack Smith violate that speech and debate clause? On privacy, technology, and the law will now come to order. And today we will be holding the first in what will be a series of Judiciary Committee hearings examining the corrupt Arctic frost investigation that targeted President Trump, duly elected members of Congress, and thousands of conservatives across the country. These hearings will serve as a form of discovery for the committee as we continue to document and enter into the record all the facts surrounding the Arctic frost witch hunt. And let me be clear, we need Jack Smith before us under oath so he can answer for his actions in this targeted, weaponized witch hunt. We are ultimately here this morning because Jack Smith violated his oath of office. He trampled on Americans' rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, all for one reason: to go after President Donald Trump and conservatives across this great nation. With the Biden DOJ's approval, Jack Smith issued 197 subpoenas to over 430 conservative organizations and individuals. That was the length that he went to go after President Trump. Jack Smith took a page out of the old Russian playbook by saying, "Give me the man and I will give you the case against him." In this case, the man was President Trump and hundreds of conservative Americans who supported him. Luckily, we now have a commander-in-chief in the White House, in President Trump, who is working every day to root out the two-tiered system of justice implemented under Joe Biden that allowed this political witch hunt that targeted conservatives. Chairman Grassley began his work to uncover the atrocities of this Arctic frost investigation in 2022. And thanks to brave whistleblowers that have come forward, we have learned a lot. We know that just days after President Trump announced his 2024 campaign, Jack Smith was named special counsel. We know that Jack Smith was determined to persecute President Trump and hundreds of conservatives across America who support him. And relevant to our hearing today, we know that Jack Smith secretly subpoenaed the phone records of sitting U.S. senators and congressmen. 5 members of this committee, Senators Graham, Lee, Cruz, Hawley, and I, had our phone records subpoenaed by Jack Smith, in addition to several other senators and members of the House. But Jack Smith didn't stop there. He also made sure that we didn't find out about this deep invasion of our privacy, ensuring that an Obama appointee, Judge James Boasberg, signed non-disclosure orders that were attached to the subpoenas and had no basis in fact. His basis for the gag orders: that sitting members of Congress would, and I quote directly from him, result in destruction of evidence, intimidation of potential witnesses, and serious jeopardy to the investigation, end quote. Think about that. Sitting members of Congress. And that is what he thought. We will begin our round of questioning. I will open. We're each going to have 5 minutes to question you. Mr. Miller, I want to come to you. Are you aware of the speech and debate clause in Article 1?
Yes.
Okay, and are you aware of the D.C. Circuit case U.S. versus Rayburn House Office Building?
Chairman Blackburn, I am not an expert on the speech or debate clause, but I have heard of that case.
You have heard of that case. Then you know that that case stands for the proposition that there is a documentary non-disclosure privilege for members of Congress. So do you think Jack Smith violated that speech and debate clause protections?
Chairman Blackburn, I would defer to you and your colleagues about the scope and the application of the speech and
You're
debate
aware
clause.
of the case,
I am, Chairman
and
Blackburn.
you're aware of what the case found, that it establishes that proposition.
I am.
You are. So do you think, in your opinion, did Jack Smith violate that speech and debate clause?
Chairman Blackburn, I do not know. I'm unaware of any case that addresses whether the speech or debate
Okay,
clause.
so then why did you turn over the tolling data? If you're aware of the Article 1 speech and debate clause and you're aware of the case, why did you do this?
I understand the frustration on this issue, Chairman Blackburn. We responded to this subpoena, principally the May 25th, 2020.
Even though you knew it was wrong?
No, Chairman Blackburn, we did not know it was
Okay,
wrong.
let me ask you this. I've got a question on something in your testimony, and I'm going to quote you. Our processes could have been better suited to meet what was a new and unique set of circumstances, end quote. So I'm glad that it is heartening to hear that you realize you didn't have the right processes in place. But I want to make sure I'm understanding what you meant by that. So what you're basically saying is it took Jack Smith issuing secret subpoenas for the records of duly elected members of Congress as part of a weaponized investigation of President Trump for Verizon to finally realize that it probably could have, and I quote you, better processes. Is that accurate?
Chairman Blackburn, we should have had a better process to address this situation.
So in essence, what you're saying is that you had no process in place as of May 2023. And you had no way of identifying that something was a member of Congress records. Is that accurate?
That's correct, Chairman Blackburn, not at that
So
time.
you had no process in place, and therefore you turned everything over. Okay, so no process, you turned it over, you're aware of the speech and debate clause, you're aware of the U.S. versus Rayburn House Office Building, but you didn't comply with that. So in Judge Boasberg's nondisclosure order that accompanied the subpoena, the May 2023 subpoena, he stated that there were reasonable grounds to conclude that notifying me or the other members of the subpoena would result in destruction of or tampering with evidence, intimidation of potential witnesses, and serious jeopardy. Are you aware of any facts, and were you at the time aware of any facts that justified Judge Boasberg claiming that there were reasonable grounds that me or any of us would commit a federal crime by destroying evidence?
No, Chairman Blackburn, I have no reason to believe you or anyone else on this panel would do any of those things. When we evaluated this subpoena and this nondisclosure order, we were simply looking to determine if they were valid and legal, and in this case, they were.
And it never caused you to ask, I wonder what this is about, or why they would do this?
Chairman,
Why didn't you reach out like AT&T did?
Chairman Blackburn, I don't want to speak for my colleagues at AT, or excuse me, fellow panelists at AT&T. I would say that was a good catch.
I didn't ask you to speak for them. I asked why you did not take an action, and you did not. My time's expired. Senator Durbin, you're recognized for 5 minutes.